What's up, everybody? Welcome to the fifth. This is the fifth installment of the bare minimum, right? It's our fifth show, going into the fifth game. Yeah, we did. It's the fifth installment of the bare minimum.
I
We're
think
becoming.
at one point it was called something else, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was the bare necessities, but that's
Yeah,
already a thing, so we had to change that up a little bit.
yeah.
Now, welcome to the bare minimum late night Bears pregame show, Thursday night football recap. We had a hell of a game tonight. Hopefully, anybody watching, jumps in the chat and shares their thoughts on the game that we saw tonight, which was just a hell of a game, man. That's why you watch football. That's why I watch football. Like games like that remind you why you love football. You see like the great plays that change a game, or the bad plays that change a game. We saw it all tonight, and some really good players, man. That NFC South is a lot more interesting than I thought it would be. I thought we'd have some cellar dwellers across that division. Maybe the division winner going 8-9 to win it. That's what I thought. It's not looking like that right now, but still a lot of football left to be played. But what'd you think of that game tonight, man? I was on the edge of my seat for basically the entirety. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was fun, man. And like you said, this division's gonna probably come down to the last couple of weeks of the season, I would imagine, between the Falcons and the Buccaneers. The Saints looked really strong early on. They seem to have faded out. But yeah, no, I mean, like you said, man, football's emotion. And tonight, I mean, imagine if you're the fan of either one of those teams. Just the up and down the roller coaster, man. It's
Did you
just
see Baker Mayfield's face after that game?
yeah, it just crushed.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a week 5 loss, and with a winning record, and he's crushed because that's what kind of game that was, man. You just wanted to be the team that came out on top, but it was like a playoff game, and man, both those quarterbacks made some passes tonight. I mean, the smallest of windows.
The touchdown that Baker threw to Shepard,
Yeah,
that was a hell of a pass.
watching the game, I lost the ball and was just like, oh, he's got it. But Kirk Cousins threw a couple of two men where Kirk Cousins tonight was all anticipation. If you guys watched that behind the Cousins video, like highlights they did after all of his like highlight plays, they kind of showed a behind his back camera view.
Like what he sees.
And
Right?
he's putting the ball like well ahead of a receiver before he's there, and it's just, I mean, that's the kind of stuff you want to see your quarterback doing. That anticipation stuff, man.
Well, it
That's
worked
what
out for him tonight
separates.
because he threw for 509 yards with 4 touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times, 1 interception, but man, he threw the ball 58 times, 42 of 58. They were just letting it sling out there tonight, and Tampa Bay's defense didn't have an answer for it, man. I mean, you saw Darnell Mooney break 100 yards tonight. What do you think of that? I mean, that guy was maligned here a little bit. I think he was probably asked to play a role that he wasn't made for, and I think he's in a much better role for him over there in Atlanta. And obviously, Kirk Cousins is a much better quarterback, like you were just talking about, the anticipation throws and just being able to put the ball where the receiver needs it, man. Mooney's really thriving off of that so far with Atlanta.
Yeah, and Mooney's always kind of shown. I mean, when Mooney did have success, he had a 1,000-yard season here in Chicago. But when he did, it was, I feel personally, more based around just doing the job correctly, like running his routes well, being in the right place at the right time, as opposed to like his physical accolades. He's quick, but
He's a burner for sure.
he drops the ball a lot. That's something that he did in Chicago. That's something that after tonight it would appear he's still doing in Atlanta. But you're right, man. I mean, he's versatile too.
Yeah, shit. I just saw this. I didn't realize, man. I mean, I was watching at work. Hopefully the boss doesn't know that. But 16 targets for Darnell Mooney. He had 9 catches on those 16 targets. That's
and
rough.
he dropped a game that could have very easily lost it for that Falcons. He dropped a pass that could have lost it for that Falcons team.
Ruha, what up, man? How you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I don't know who was Al Michaels was making. He's like, oh, the ball was thrown before he turned around. Like, yeah, Al, that happens on like 50% of the passes in the NFL.
The ball was spinning really fast.
Like, what point are you proving here? I'm so confused, dude. I love Al Michaels, but it's time, man. It's time to hang it up.
No, Al
There's
Michaels
so
was
many,
great tonight. He was just dogging like their whole
there was so
schedule.
many times in that game where I was like, "Come on, dude!" Like, just the
Man,
stuff
I
he
don't
was.
know. That's an interesting thing to talk about because, like, we're losing all the announcers that we grew up with, watching football or shit, basketball, whatever. Like, Al Michaels is a guy, he's like a holdover. He's still a part of, like, I was
Well,
watching
yeah,
games
but
as a
Dustin,
kid with Al
you
Michaels.
lose
Like,
those guys because in their, I don't know what it
I
is.
understand the concept of age, man. I'm just
Yeah,
saying it
you, but
sucks.
you'd think it'd be a profession where you're consistently good, but in your latter years, I mean, these guys work till they're in their 60s, dude. So like, it starts to get a little Joe Biden.
Yeah, I was about to, that's what I was thinking about. It's like, well, at least he's not the president. He's just calling a football game,
Yeah.
bro. But he looks like every time they run the camera to him, he looks afraid. Like, he's like, it's always funny to see the when they do the close up of Herb Street and Michaels, because Michaels is just, he looks scared, but Michaels is still doing it, man. In my opinion, I hope
Well,
he holds on as long as
to
possible.
me, he still looks like the same guy. Physically,
Yeah,
he looks like the same guy he has for the last 20 years. But I don't know, man. It's like, to me, it's just kind of based on you. Like, once you start to notice somebody, like I just noticed the difference in Michael's and Alice's. It's just like a little more broad and a little more redundant.
well, he
I don't
called
know.
he got to call a hell of a game tonight. I mean, I I was super impressed with both teams in this game, but I mean the Falcons to pull that off, and now they sit atop the NFC North. I'm sorry, the NFC South. I got the Bears on the brain. They sit atop the NFC South now. The Bucks look like they were gonna win that game. Like the Bucks thought they had that game.
Yeah,
That should have been game over.
it
Like the
felt
fact,
like after the game ended, it felt like the Bucks should have won. I
yeah,
don't
and
know how to
that's what I
say.
wanted. I wanted to touch on that based on something you said earlier. Like, it's week 5 and all, but that's a huge game for this division. That's a huge game for the Bucks. That game, that losing of winning it, which they should have secured the win, that could come back to haunt
Yeah,
them.
but
Like,
they almost
it's a
got it. They
division
almost,
game, man.
but they came. It was within a score of a team that's projected to win the division at home. I mean, the Bucks were on the road. They came in and
That-
played a hell of a football
That's
game, man.
irrelevant. They lost, man.
And
And
they're,
now if
but
this
they're
division
three
you
and
just
two,
said,
Dustin. Like they're in a
for sure,
good
but
position.
I mean, yeah, and the Falcons are 3-2. But you just said this division can come down to the last week or two. This game's gonna matter in that
Yeah, I'm
calculus.
okay. I get you. I'm not calling that like a must-win game for the Bucks.
I'm sorry, am I
Like,
bothering you with our conversation? You're like, okay, I get you. That's fine. It's going to be important, man. It's going to
I know, but it
tonight's,
sounds like
and
it's not a must-win, man. It's not a must-win game. It's not.
I gotta disagree with you wholeheartedly on that. I mean, and that hold that took them out of field goal range on that last drive when they had to punt it to give the Falcons that last drive to go down and get their field goal to send it in overtime. That hold took them out of field goal range. That cost them dearly, man. That's a huge mistake in a really tight game and in a really, yes, a must-win game. They kind of shot themselves in the
Well,
foot, man.
something I want to talk about, man, is
Real quick, Bruhal asked, was there a game-changing penalty I didn't get to watch? Yeah, I think it was Lindstrom who got the holding call when they were just trying to run out the clock. They would have been able to kick a field goal. They were in field goal range for McLaughlin, and that 10-yard penalty forced them to punt, once they had to
yeah,
turn it over
and
on down.
he's a dirty player, man.
Lindstrom?
Yeah.
The hook he did to pull the guy down.
Well, he had like 3 blocks that were directly at the knees, man. I was watching with a buddy, and I just kept saying, "Man, this left guard is like brutal. He's trying to injure somebody, man."
Well, he's a
But
beast for sure. He's a hell
but
of a guard too.
I want to say this, man. A name that everybody should make themselves familiar with, if you haven't already, is you already know, Johnson, Ben Johnson,
You already know Johnson.
Ben Johnson.
We know who this guy is. Johnson. He's Johnson.
Yeah, any one of the Johnsons that's
Yes,
affiliated with professional sports. Yeah. No,
Ben Johnson of the Detroit Lions, the offensive coordinator. Yeah.
Bobby Slowick, and Clint
Houston
Kubiak
Texans.
are the names that you probably familiarize yourself with when you're talking about future head coach candidates. But like this guy, after 5 weeks as the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he is going to have head coaching interviews, man. Liam Cohen, he was
I thought you were going Zach Robinson there.
no, Liam Cohen on the Buccaneers will be a head coach for sure. Like Baker Mayfield was good already, but I mean, this is getting ridiculous, man. He's got like 11 touchdowns and 2 interceptions or something on the season, and
He's
like and
legitimately in the
and a
MVP
thousand
conversation.
yards. Yeah, he's this guy's playing, and he's. I mean, you watch tonight, man. It's not. He's like he scrambles when he needs to and picks up first downs. I mean, he's not just a product of a system. That's the Johnny Manziel. Or that's not the Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, they were similar coming
Yeah,
out for sure.
that's the Baker Mayfield that I'm like accustomed to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the guy.
and
That's the
he's
guy
out there
we.
shit talking too. He's playing his game, man.
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
really
he's a
comfortable.
tough guy, man. He's fun to watch, man. You just find yourself rooting for him, even when you don't have a dog in the fight.
Yeah, I mean the thing, Baker's a stud, bro. And we were texting about it during the game. Like just at that throw he made, every play he makes, really. I mean, he took a hit in that game where it looked like his ankle might have ripped in half, and he just goes back out and keeps playing, man. No issues. I'm sure that has to still hurt him. That
Yeah,
thing's probably swollen as hell right now.
he got put in one of those weird positions where he was being stood up by one player and hit over the top by another. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and his ankle bent in half, and
Yeah.
he just came
His
out and
his
ran for a
face,
first down the next
his
drive.
even through his helmet, you could see the agony through his face,
Yeah.
dude.
So I mean, yeah, Baker's it's a great story, man. I'm rooting for him. Hopefully he does well. The thing that stood out to me in that game, speaking of great stories, man, was the post game interview. I mean, with that Kadero Hodge, I mean, he's just been sticking with it. 7-year career. He caught his second touchdown tonight. He only was in the game because Drake London went out of the game at the end of in overtime. Drake London had to sit out a play, and Hodge comes in for without one play, catches the game winning touchdown.
And he did have a touchdown last week too.
Yeah, and now those are the two in his career.
No, it wasn't catching. Somebody blocked a punt or something, and he
I
recovered.
got you. I
He
didn't.
recovered the ball in the end zone.
Yeah, he's got 2 touchdown catches on his career. That was one of them tonight
Yeah,
in
he's got 2
overtime.
touchdowns. He's got 2 touchdowns in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's a hell of a story, man. You just saw on his face in that post. I don't know if you watched it, but like he was just stunned that it happened as well. Like, a guy who's just a bench player who's he tries to shine in practice, but you get an opportunity like that and you take advantage of it. That's got to feel amazing, man. That's another thing you love about football is like those unlikely guys that come through and win a game for you, And I mean, I was very happy for that guy watching that game.
Yeah, sports is like watching I don't know. It's like watching a good
soap
drama
opera
series. No, not a soap opera. Get the fuck out of here. Like watching a good drama series. You know what I mean? It's like the story's told all in 3 hours, as opposed to a season. It's crazy, man. Like football games like those too, man. It's just I don't like. That's what you aspire your team to be. You know what I mean? Like the defense wasn't very good on either side of the ball, but like
No, not at all.
that's Dustin. You say it most, and I love the expression. That is modern day offense. And that I feel like those guys. Bijan Robinson was having a quality game. Rashad White finally had a good game. He had like 6 catches or 6 carries for 64 yards in the
Well, he
first
had
half.
one big run. He averaged
Yeah,
like 2 yards a carry on his other
but
runs. Rashad
but
White sucks. Sorry.
but there was just like gunslingers, just back and forth and back and forth, man. That's
Yeah.
like it's kind of stuff, guys, that you hope Caleb Williams might eventually be able to. When a defense is having a bad day, you want a quarterback that's capable of that.
I mean, you mentioned Bijan Robinson, man. I'm a big fan of his, and I'm really sick of Algier getting carries in his stead. Like they take Bijan out and just so they can hand it to Algier and he can run into the fucking line and fall down. Like
the
he's
guy
not good.
the guy I was watching the game with doesn't watch football too much.
Like, why'd they take the good guy out?
He was like, "Why does this guy keep getting the ball? He's terrible." And
Yeah.
I just started cracking up, and he's like, "Why are you laughing?" I was like, "Because I've literally said this to people before." And I was like, and my buddy's texting me right now. Why the hell is
Why is
Algier?
Algier touching
Yeah.
the ball? You get down and into the fucking red zone and you take Bijan out to put in Algier
No,
to average 2 yards per carry.
that's what I said to him. You've handcuffed Bijan Robinson for 2 years for Tyler Algier. Like
For an average player.
it's
It
not
makes
like
no sense.
Saquon. It's not like Saquon Barkley is the backup on this team, man. I don't. It's
Yeah.
just
It's like there's a conspiracy against Bijan Robinson's
and
production or something, bro.
yeah, and I got a text from my brother like you guys were wrong about Bijan, and a lot of fantasy owners are super frustrated. Like I don't know if he's the guy. He doesn't touch the ball.
Yeah, what do you have tonight in terms of carries? I know he had
I think
61 yards
12.
reaching.
I think he had 12 carries.
12 carries, 61 yards, averaged 5.1 yards, had a long of 28, you know?
Yeah, when
I
your
mean,
running backs averaging 5 yards, you don't run them 12 times, man. Like
yeah, and you don't take them out to run Tyler Algier at 2 yards a clip, man. It doesn't
yeah.
make any fucking sense. Did Raheem Morris just inherit who's the guy? Why am I blanking on his name? Arthur Smith. Did he just inherit his playbook when
Well,
when he
at
left?
least Arthur Smith had an excuse to like throw Cordell Patterson on the field every once in a while,
Ryan
but now
Pace has Algiers on his fantasy team.
at least
That
but
sounds about right when it comes to Ryan Pace. Yeah.
Arthur Smith let Cordell Patterson play a lot of football in the backfield. That's okay, I get that, but like he's gone. Bijan's on his sophomore year. He was a top 5 pick. It's
Why do
time.
you use that pick?
Yeah,
It's like
it's time, dude. It's time to give this guy the bulk, and it's time to have him in on every passing down too, man.
last year, Atlanta's first pick, top 10 pick, top 5 pick, like Bijan Robinson, who they refused to turn into their workhorse backup for some reason. And then this year's top 10 pick, Michael Penix, a backup quarterback. Like, this is how they're spending their first round picks. It makes total sense. And they won tonight, man. So, like, hey, who am I to second guess you? But if you draft that guy at that spot to be that player, let him be that player for your team. It's got to make it. I
Well,
mean, Kirk Cousins dropping back 58 times is going to lead to him getting hurt again.
my
That's a
message was
guarantee.
more like to all those fantasy owners and the people who were questioning Bijan's ability, like wait till he actually gets an opportunity because tonight he played some football. Like, tonight he looked great.
Well,
He
how long
looked
can you
great.
wait as a fantasy manager? You know, like
You have
shit.
to you'd have to imagine that Zach Robinson knows that that's one of the best pieces on his football team, man. I mean, you saw tonight, like when the guy gets the ball in his hands and
He's
opens
electric.
space, yeah, he's one of those players, man. He's just one of those guys that's gonna make things happen. So I don't know. You think it would make a coach's life easy having a player like that, man? But I guess not. I don't know. We're not coaches, Dustin. We're not on
Yeah,
Falcons practice, but
the burden
some
of having to
something.
design a game around Bijan Robinson
Yeah,
must be
something's wrong
stressful.
though, right? I mean, we're missing something's happening. I just don't because this is the second coaching regime who's opted not to give him more opportunity, man. So
Yeah.
something's going on.
Yeah, it's weird. Hopefully that comes around for all those fantasy managers. But I mean, hell of a game tonight, man. I was super excited to be able to get to watch that. I'm still on a little bit of a high from that game, to be honest, just in terms of the emotions you went through watching it, and not even rooting for anybody, you know. But I mean,
No, it was just
that could be the game of the year we just watched.
I had a parlay in the game that I missed by nothing, and
Isn't
I don't
that
even
the case with every parlay
and
ever?
I don't even care, man. Like it was a good football
Yeah,
game for sure.
yeah, for sure,
Um,
man.
yeah,
Well,
enough said though, guys. Obviously, a big game for the NFC. The Falcons are kind of on their way up, proving
yeah,
something. So they were projected to be a division winner. We'll see what happens, but it's just another strong team in the NFC, which to me and Dustin stated earlier this season looks like the more competitive division for sure.
the NFC looks tough, man, and right now our Bears are 11th in the NFC or 10th, depending on how you cut it. If they're above or below the Packers, I mean, whatever. Like they got a big game coming up this weekend on Sunday at home against the Carolina Panthers. You can debate on whether it's a must win. You know, you said that Falcons Bucks game was not a must win. I feel like, you know, every game is a must win personally, but like it's a big game for the Bears. You want to build on some momentum. You want to, you know, put together a winning streak here, your first one this season where you can stack a couple wins together. So that being said, we got a few injuries to talk about. It doesn't seem like much serious, Brandon. What do you got in terms of the injury report for the Bears?
Yeah, looks like all questionables. You have Javon Dexter is on there, Montez Sweat is on there,
Limited, yeah.
DeAndre Carter is on there, which actually is a big deal. That's your primary returner. Although we're not getting a whole lot of returns the last couple of weeks.
Well,
And
Carter
then
was back was limited today. He was back at practice, right? Yeah,
Tevin Jenkins was the
that's the
guy we
big
were
one.
all watching. He was
Yeah.
limited today after a no participation, right?
Yeah, that's huge that he's
Yeah.
practicing already. Like it seems like that's going to put him in line to play on Sunday the way it
So
looks.
yeah, and then the Panthers injury is a whole lot of questionables too. Looks like players that were upgraded throughout the week. So it looks like there's not going to be a whole lot of injuries in this game, minus the fact that me and Dustin discussed before the show. The Panthers week one did lose a pivotal piece to their defense. It's Derek Brown, right?
Derek Brown,
Yeah,
defensive
their
tackle. Yeah,
defensive tackle. Yeah, and their three tech, I believe they're starting three tech, and
he was a top 10 pick for them. Yeah,
it
he's a hell of a player.
it would appear that has affected their pass
Yeah, their
rush.
overall defense, yes, no doubt.
One and their pass rush too, specifically their pass rush.
Even run defense, he's a big part of all of that, and they're not really performing very well in terms of any of those statistics. And losing your best defensive player obviously doesn't help with that. So that weakened an already weak team. I mean, they had already lost some key players, whether it was through trade or whatever. I mean, they kind of broke this thing down, and Derek Brown was a big part of that. Him not being on the field for this team, obviously it is what it is. He's out for the season. That's been the case, so we know that going in. But I mean, Josie Jewell, I believe, is going to be out for them as well, the linebacker, and Shaq Thompson. I don't think those two are both going to be missing that game as well. So very weakened on the defensive side is this Carolina Panthers team.
Yeah, the Bears catch another string of good luck. I mean, they played
They
the
got to
Colts.
take advantage of it.
They pulled the Colts without Buckner. They played the Rams without Nakua and Cup. Now they're playing these guys without Thompson. I mean, your fortune is on your side here, and the Bears have also had fortune in regards to health. And I saw a lot of stuff in the Facebook forum today, man, about Zach Pickens and guys. I don't know. I'm just gonna say this. I would expect him not to play for quite some time. Somebody said he was dressed on the field last week.
I thought I saw him in basketball shorts,
Yeah, me
rubbing
too. I
holding the
don't
thing on his
imagine the week,
fucking
and I
leg.
don't imagine with the lack of depth the Bears have on the inside, if he's dressed, he's playing, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
No doubt.
I don't.
I
I
mean,
don't see.
they went and got Chris Williams for a reason.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't. I don't see him being like a healthy scratch. If he's dressed and ready to go, guys, he's going to play some football. I do think that injury was much more severe than the Bears initially reported because they almost didn't report it. So I would say that he's probably not going to come back. And as Dustin mentioned on this very podcast, guys, on the bare minimum before, this should have been an IR move for the Bears. This would have
yeah,
just
use
made
that
him
roster
roster.
spot.
Yeah, I mean, this
Yeah.
is he's going on 5 weeks now, looking like he's probably not going to be on the field. I don't understand why he didn't.
Is
I
there
mean, this
something
is
we're missing with that? I wonder.
this
Like, I
this is
mean, I
one
know
of
they
the
got
things
Bates
we.
on IR, but like you can
This
put
is
multiple players on IR. There's no reason not.
this is one of the things that the NFL allows you to do to
Mhm.
benefit your roster, your team, and yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe they truthfully believe because I know this. Eric Washington initially reported week one that but he's not going to say Pickens won't play, and he's not going to say that he will in week one. So like,
Well,
but I'm getting a feeling of like misdirection. You know what I mean? I'm getting a feeling like we've been. Bears like to keep things in house, but with injuries especially, the Bears are very strange, man. When
it
Justin
doesn't
Fields,
make sense. It doesn't make
when
sense that
Justin
they
Fields,
wouldn't put him on IR unless there's more to it. Like they feel like there's
yeah,
something there. Like you said, like they think he's might actually play, but it's like eventually you gotta call a spade a spade. The guy's not suiting up for this much time. I'll tell you this, man. Pickens was my of Dexter and Pickens, those two guys drafted. I thought much higher of Dexter in that draft in terms of the players, and
well,
as of
it's
right now, Pickens hasn't. I mean, he's
yeah,
a decent rotational player. It's not killing me to not see Pickens on the
there's
field.
there's no point to compare him to anybody, man. The point is he was a high draft pick for Ryan Post, and here's actually what's
Well, the point
kind
is
of
the defense is still performing without him, so he's kind of out of sight, out of mind to me. Like I don't
and
particularly.
here's what's especially disappointing is the first third round pick was Velus Jones. His second third round pick was Zach Pickens, who's now no longer available. And
And then
this
Kieran
year
Abagaji.
was
Yeah.
Kieran, who, guys, by all measures, like the minute that you think Kieran's ready to play, I know that this
We're
is a
having
bold
this
move.
conversation already because
Yeah.
Braxton Jones
Oh
was
my God.
moonwalking that whole
Oh my
game, man.
God, dude. I mean,
Falling, just whiffing left and
he
right,
got
back to
he
oh my
allowed a
god.
hit. He allowed a QB hit on a check down.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost impossible, man. I mean, that's a check down. You're talking about like a 2-second route to develop like this.
Hey man, I
This
mean
guy's got it.
he had not looked that bad until I mean he's not looked great. He's looked man, but like he looked bad against the Rams and he hadn't looked that bad before. So I mean it's like was Verse a bad matchup for him? Did they targeted that obviously specifically and Verse bull rushed him, Verse swam past him. He fucking did everything to Braxton Jones, man. he took him for a ride that whole game. So I mean, it could have just been a bad matchup, and we could expect to see better things this week. But I would also expect that the Panthers put their best pass rusher, Jadeveon Clowney, right on Braxton Jones after watching that film. So hopefully it's not a repeat of this past week with
well,
Braxton.
and
And if it is, Kieran
if
Amagaji is
yeah, I
somebody
was
worth
gonna
looking
say
at. Yes, I understand
if
where you're going.
if measures get so bad, and I know, guys, this is ill advised. The guy's been injured for a long time. He's new to the team. He hasn't practiced much.
But
It
he's a
is
third round pick.
it is blocking. Like that is your job. Ultimately,
Mhm.
if you're smart enough to learn a playbook,
Stay in front of the guy across from
yeah.
you.
I mean, so if Braxton continues to play at that level, you've got to do something because you're talking about, guys. This isn't just about the performance of the offensive lineman that dictates whether or not he's on the field. This is the health of Caleb Williams that you're like, you have to pull the trigger when something's not working. You have to. There's just you don't have a choice.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, you guys get drafted in the third round to impact a team. That's why they get drafted in that spot.
It's a
It's
day
not,
two pick.
yeah, they're not meant to be projects, and we'll see what happens. And listen, like I said, Braxton had a really bad game. Hopefully, there's not a repeat of that. But I would love to see Kieran get on the field, whether it's in like replacing somebody because of injury, whether it's because he's outperforming somebody in practice. That's nothing but a good sign to me. And going into this season, I did not think very highly of Braxton Jones. He's a
Well,
replaceable
and
player. He's a replacement level player. And it looks to me, I thought when they drafted Kieran, they were drafting his replacement. I said that the day they drafted him.
yeah, and you can do what a lot of teams do with young offensive linemen that weren't projected to be starters immediately, man, is you start to plug them in at tackle on like a run play and you see how they handle that. And then you build from there. But like, you can't just let Caleb keep getting killed. If I would have to imagine, man, Braxton Jones was a 5th round pick 3 years ago. I would have to, or 2 years ago, I'd have to imagine that the 3rd round pick is somebody that you're anticipating might be better than Braxton Jones ultimately. I don't know
That's why
about
they
like
drafted him.
today,
That
but
better be
it's
why they drafted him.
yeah,
It makes no
that's
sense
because well,
otherwise.
because you drafted him 2 rounds higher than the guy who's starting for you. So you better have gotten a better talent, right? I mean,
I mean,
that's
that's irrelevant because a third round pick does not necessarily have to outperform a fifth round pick. I mean, where they were drafted is the fact that they spent that capital on that guy who plays that position meant to me that they were drafting him to eventually replace Braxton Jones when they don't want to pay him a contract. I mean, Braxton Jones to me is Charles Leno 2.0.
yeah, no, Dustin, I 100% agree with you. I think that's exactly what it did. I think it was about
Mhm.
they know what's coming here with Braxton, but
He hasn't performed well
if
enough to
Braxton's not
justify
performing,
re-signing.
if he's not performing this year, it goes beyond like his contract in the future. It goes to what do we do now?
I
We drafted this guy to
You sound
replace
like
him
Christopher
eventually.
Walken right there a little bit. What do we do now?
What do we do now? But dude,
Yes, thank you. I was setting you up
but
for that.
um, but I mean, you draft this third round guy to take over eventually. Did eventually have to mean next year? You know what I mean?
I mean, no, it doesn't. It means like when that person's play no longer justifies them being on the field, and that person being Braxton Jones. Like if his play is not justifying him starting, I mean, then it's time to move on. And it's the guy that they drafted to be able to make that replacement is Kieran Amagaji. He's on this roster. He's healthy, right? By all accounts. So I
Yeah,
mean, like,
he's practiced. He practiced. He was limited practice 2 weeks ago, and he practiced in full this week. So
I mean, it's an interesting topic to think about, and it's for thought for sure. I mean, I don't think that
well,
they're
and I'm
benching
not one of
Braxton
those guys.
Jones after this week.
I'm not a Devontae Adams is going to be a bear kind of guy, guys. I'm not throwing out speculation. Matt Eberflus said when they were concerned about Darnell Wright's injury that Karan could play right tackle if need be. So I mean, he is the next man up. So when you lost Tevin Jenkins, you saw Nate Davis. If there were to say 2 injuries on this line, Karan's going to be the guy that's playing football, and somebody's going to move inside. You know what I mean? So as long as Ryan Bates is not healthy, Karan's not just an option; he's a
He's the only
necessity.
option.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, so I think
Well,
one way or
Matt
another,
Pryor has that versatility. He played left tackle for the Colts, so like he
right? But
has.
Pryor can play guard. Karan
um,
probably can't. So you would leave Pryor inside.
Yeah, like I said, man, I'm not I've said this. This conversation has been had amongst our group, and it goes back and forth. I just have no problem seeing a third round offensive lineman playing football on my offensive line. I want to see that. That's really what it boils down to for me. I want to see what the guy has. There's no reason to wrap him in bubble tape and wait till bubble wrap and wait till next year. There's just no reason for that to me.
No, and guys, I've said this before on this channel. His film is really impressive. I mean, he didn't play, the Alabamas and the Clemsons and the LSU's of the world, but when whoever was across from him was not his choice. I mean, it's not in his control, and he beat the guy across from more often than not. So I would really like to see this. You saw that highlight video from Michael Orr in the blind side that like made all the scouts like catch on to this kid when he blocks him over the fence. It's kind of what Karan does. He blacks into the bench, man. I mean, this guy follows through. He's after the whistle kind of guy. I would love, and he's really like he's not. I by every measure, it seems. I know everybody wants a dog there. He's not a mean guy. Seems very like I don't know, wholesome, like a young kid, but
Definitely smart. He's definitely
but
smart. That's one
but
thing to remember about him too.
but aggressive, man. Super aggressive. He plays football very aggressively. I would love to see him play. But yeah, let's not beat up
This
Karan.
week we're going to see Tevin Jenkins play. We'll see Braxton Jones play, and we can get into that a little more. But like going into this game, the Bears are 2-2, right? Tied for third in the NFC North. One thing I thought was
let's talk about. We did the injury thing. Let's talk about some news because we wanted to beat up that DJ Moore thing a little bit because this is everywhere, man.
okay. Go for it.
Yeah, this DJ. So DJ Moore's body language is being questioned as a representation of how he feels. Is he frustrated? And he said, and I can't. This is paraphrasing, guys. I'm never frustrated. That's not who I am. I'm upset. And it's natural for any player to be upset when things aren't working on offense. When you feel like you could have gotten more out of a play or out of a drive. This is what DJ Moore was saying.
Yeah, yeah.
But
We talked about that, and that
still,
makes
and he
sense.
said people are gonna put stuff out. People are gonna put stuff out there. I don't know, for drama or whatever. He implied that the media is gonna paint some kind of picture. So I guess I'll ask you this, Dustin: is the media making something out of this? Or is DJ Moore look and playing as if he has a little less interest than he did last year?
Bro, I mean, it's not. I mean, the media. Yeah, we talked about it on the Monday show, and he was kind of called out by our guys in terms of his effort. More specifically, his effort on that that touchdown, what should have been a touchdown where he stopped running, when Caleb.
Man, if you rewatch the guys, if you rewatch
Mhm.
that play, that Caleb pass was right where it needed to be. If the DJ had just kept burning on that route,
I call bullshit on it, man. I personally, I don't think DJ Moore. We've seen this guy play his ass off for the Bears last year. Where he's done it his whole career. He doesn't really make a big fuss, but I mean, he has expectations. And I was telling you earlier, wide receivers are very dependent, obviously, on other people. They're to get them the ball. Like a wide receiver is not going to perform if the quarterback's not getting them the ball. The quarterback's not going to get them the ball if the offensive line doesn't protect the quarterback. Like there's so many things that go into a wide
and the
receiver
quarterback's
making
not going to get the receiver the ball if the receiver's quitting on routes, man.
for sure. But that it's easier you feel like it's less in your control, I guess, than if you're a running back getting the ball handed to you. And you're counting on the offensive line to make their blocks in that situation. But receivers just they want to make an impact on the game. DJ Moore is a great player who wants to impact his team winning football
Well,
games, man. And him
can I be
getting
honest?
you asked me a question. Let me go ahead.
This is going to sound, and this is great, by the way. I'm not going to pitch this in some sort of negative light. Everybody keeps saying like DJ just wants to be a part of helping the team win, and I believe that, but I also believe DJ wants to be better than the guy across from him every game he plays, and he can only prove that to himself or to anyone who's watching if he's getting the ball. You know what I mean? DJ doesn't want to say like when they show this. Like, have you seen this? The Jarius Sneed statistics against every receiver he's played is being posted everywhere because he's allowed like 2 catches for 43 yards or something through
He's
four
a very
weeks.
good cornerback.
So
DJ Moore
like
already went against
DJ
him.
Moore doesn't want, and he's on the list. And DJ Moore doesn't want to be on those lists. He doesn't want to appear as if he's been gotten by somebody because in his mind he's open. He's beat. You know what I mean? He's beat his opponent, so he wants the ball. Like,
DJ
and
Moore performed pretty well against L'Jarius Sneed, if I recall. I mean, here he was all smiles at the end of that game. He got the touchdown. You watch his post game press conference. I said that he's
well,
happy
and
they got the
guys,
win.
and Dustin, that touchdown. I mean,
Can you ask for the ball to be in a better
yeah,
place?
Justin Fields throws some good footballs, but I that touchdown. If you're a receiver, you got to think like I would not have dreamt that the quarterback put the ball
If
exactly
you're
where it
DJ
was.
Moore, you got to understand that when you go out on a limb last year and say Justin Fields is better than any quarterback in this draft, and then that Justin Fields goes and they bring in the quarterback from the draft, and then your body language starts to shift. I'm not the body language police, man. I think DJ Moore. It's hard for me to question
Well,
his effort because I've seen him play. But DJ Moore's got to understand that when you put that out there and then you start stringing some of this stuff together, people are going to call things into question just naturally based on kind of what you've set in place based on your comments. Like there
so
was
you
no
don't
reason
think
for
it's
him to
just
do
you
that
don't so
last
you don't
year.
think it's just immediate reaction. You think that there's some validity to the way he's behaving.
I I can understand where it would come from. Do I believe that that's the case? No, but I think DJ Moore kind of put himself in the position to where that criticism can come. I think DJ Moore understands that too. He speaks his mind. I don't think he really gives a shit. I think he's going to go out there this Sunday and play ball and have a good game, and do what he can to help his team win. I don't I don't ever like to question a player's effort, man, because I'm not out there. I got no idea what they're going through. DJ Moore was hobbled and then came in and caught the touchdown. And I personally feel like, and I've said this throughout this season so far, man, Caleb does put the ball in positions, especially when he's throwing to DJ Moore, that really puts DJ Moore in some precarious spots with defenders coming in on him, man. Like DJ Moore is getting aired out a lot by some of these throws by Caleb. That's for sure.
Boy, and you think if he's going to have a big game, this is it. Because obviously, guys, he did play them last year as a Chicago Bear, but this is the team he played for previously to be in the Chicago Bears. So that always creates some interest as a fan when a player is playing his previous team. But
I mean,
let's get in.
the team he was on doesn't exist anymore. Like that
Let's
team is
let's get
gone.
let's get into this Bears game, man, because I'm seeing a lot of things, whether it be podcasts or not like so much the Vegas spread, but just the fan perspective almost, or the Chicago analyst perspective, I should say, is like the Bears need to come out here and beat this team up. And I don't see this game being that way. What do you think?
I mean, as I was about to say, just to kind of set the table for it, man. They're 2-2. The Bears have a +2 point differential on the season. +2 points, I mean, for perspective, the Vikings have 57 plus points per game differential. Lions 22, Packers 15. The Bears are at 2, man. They're 4-point favorites going into this game. Carolina has not been a good team, but if you start looking at all the stats throughout the season so far from both of these teams, I'm seeing what could end up being an ugly game that could be one ugly. Personally, like, this looks like it could be a weird low scoring ball
Yeah.
bounces some kind of way. Like, I don't expect the Bears to come out and just be firing on all cylinders. I do expect a big game from
No.
DeAndre Swift,
And
but
that's
this is a strange if you just start looking at some of these stats, this could be a strange game, man.
yeah, and this is kind of the way I thought of this game. And so
That's weird because we didn't talk about that.
no, no, and this is my gut feeling. My gut feeling was they were going to beat the Rams up. It was in the end the Rams could have tied the game, but
Very close game that the
um,
Rams could have won too. Yeah.
we're starting to see a trend in the NFL, man, and I think it's a winning recipe, and it's good offensive head coaches or coordinators kind of adapting or inheriting the QBs of yesteryear, right? Like you're watching this right now with a lot of like Geno Smith and Shane Waldron. You know what I mean? And Flacco with Stefanski. Like wasn't good with Watson playing. Flacco came in, he played well.
Flacco was
Minsh,
spiking right now.
Minshew was Steichen. Then Flacco was Steichen, right?
Yeah,
And then
Minshew with Getsy right now.
you
I
have
mean, it's still happening. Yeah.
you have Darnold with O'Connor. You have Mayfield with Canellis last year in Tampa Bay, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have Andy Dalton and Canellis now in Carolina, and you have Nick Foles won a Super Bowl with Doug Peterson when he was like in his, I don't know, it was like his 11th year or something, man. So you're starting to see this, and it works, man, and that's what worries me, man, is the Andy Dalton Panthers are a much better football team than the Bryce Young Panthers. They are, and I
The
know
Andy
they've won.
Dalton Panthers are averaging 21 points a game.
Yeah, and he has like
Yeah.
534 yards or something and 5 touchdowns in 2 games,
Yeah.
man. I
Yeah.
mean,
The Panthers are averaging 18 points a game on the season. The Andy Dalton Panthers are averaging 21 a game. Like,
well,
their offense
guys,
has gotten better since he started playing. Yes.
and this is not the first time that Matt Eberflus's defense will play against Dave Canellis' offense. They did so in week 2 last year in the 2023 season against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers, as Dustin would say, beat the brakes off the Bears. So,
That's a
and
tougher comparison, though, because you don't got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on the outside for this Panthers team. That's a little
no, but
different.
you have a quarterback who was in the process of getting or you had a coach who was in the process of getting the best out of a quarterback, a veteran quarterback, and you have the same situation here.
Well,
And
Baker's 26. Andy Dalton's like 33. Ain't that
oh, they're
like,
both veteran quarterbacks, man.
yeah,
And Andy
it's a
Dalton, by
different.
mind you, Andy Dalton is like I believe top 15 on the list for yards all time. Like he's somewhere. This guy played a lot of good
The Red
football.
Rocket. They call him the Red Rocket for a reason.
I thought it was the Red Rifle, but
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
yeah,
The Red
he
Rifle.
played he played a lot of good football for a long time. And
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I'm
that
telling you, man, when guys like when a young
he played well when he
offensive
came
mind
in last season and in place of Bryce Young, man. He did.
when these guys coming out of McVay's system, coming out of Shanahan's system, get veteran quarterbacks who can just run the system, the plays they call, it almost always works out.
For sure.
So that
I
concerns me, guys. I would have loved to play the Bryce Young Panthers. I'll say that.
So what the Bears are allowing 165 pass yards per game, right? Isn't that the case?
I don't know. I do want to say this, guys. The Panthers are being beat in almost every category and every statistic in it. Points per game, total touchdowns, first downs, third down efficiency, completion or percentage, total net passing yards, total net rushing yards, turnovers. They're losing the battle in every statistic besides kick returns, really. And they're winning the battle in penalties, as in they've had more yards and penalties than their opponents. So, I mean, this is a bad football team, and I do believe David Canales is a good coach, and I think it's a much better football team with Andy Dalton. But still, just based on the talent on this roster, they're not a good football team across from any unit. They're not. They're
The
it,
Bears are
they
allowing 174 passing yards per game after this last game. Yeah,
they have 8 sacks, so they are getting a little bit of pressure on the quarterback,
eh.
but they're not a good football team, top to bottom.
Their sacks per game, Brandon, 1.3 sacks per game. It's 30th in the league. Like
And
they're not
their
doing very well
secondary
in
is
that
much
area.
better than their rush defense. So you'd have to imagine this is a game where we just want to pick up where we left off, right? DeAndre
DeAndre
Swift
Swift
needs to
needs
be
to
heavily
dominate this
involved.
game.
And
Yes,
he needs to be
run the
involved in
football.
the passing game too, because DeAndre
Yes.
Swift, guys, of all the players on this offense, I mean, you can go hand to catch. DJ Moore is a big play, a better big play guy than any running back on the team, but I'm talking about you give the ball to somebody immediately and expect a big play out of it. DeAndre Swift is the player on on this Bears team, and
Who leads the Bears in yards after catch?
DeAndre Swift.
120 yards. Second is DJ Moore at 84. Yards per catch, Rome leads the team at 16.6, but second is DeAndre Swift at 9.1. He's second on the team in yards per catch. He's also one of the more successful guys at catching when Caleb goes to him. He's catching 76% of the passes thrown his way, and he's in yards per target. He's second on the team at 6.9. Cole Kmet is
Yeah,
first there at
and
8.1. So
the
he's a
catches that
successful player to target.
and catches that DeAndre Swift didn't make were there's some throws by Caleb on those checkdowns where I was like, those are the ones you got to make, man.
Mm-hmm.
But he's missed probably 4 or 5 checkdowns this season to DeAndre Swift where he threw it
Big
shorter.
ones.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean you want to come into this game getting Swift heavily involved.
One more
So
stat on that. I mean, Swift is, in terms of success rate when being thrown to, 64.7% for DeAndre Swift. He's second to Cole Kmet at 70%. So I think the moral of the story with that, when you look at those things, is Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift need to be big parts of this game, big
and
parts of this passing game.
I think they will be. I'm
They
glad you
have to
said
be.
that, Dustin, because after I mentioned DeAndre Swift, my next piece talking point was Cole Kmet, and I think this Panthers team has allowed a really high completion percentage to tight ends. I forget what it is. I think Kyle and Sean actually mentioned it on last night's show too. They're not defending the tight end well. It's obviously a fraction of the ability of the linebacker's ability to cover. So I think Cole Kmet, I just plugged him in on one of my fantasy lineups. I think Cole Kmet is a big play this week.
I see him as a fantasy sleeper in every article I'm reading this week. To be honest,
Yeah.
Cole Kmet, he needs to have a big game. I mean, his catch percentage is 90% on the season, bro. Cole Kmet's. He's the most successful player when targeted for Caleb. He's the third highest in yards per catch on the team behind Rome Swift. I mean, he's just really putting together a
When he's the
solid
highest
season.
targeted player on third down, which
Is a
on
huge
this,
deal as well.
I hate to say it, but on this offense, you're going to see a lot of those probably. So
The Bears are 15 of 51 on third, or sorry, that's what they're allowing. They're 20 of 60 on third down, 33%. That's 23rd in the NFL. If targeting Cole Kmet more
that's
improves that,
23rd.
yeah, it's
God,
23rd.
Who's 32nd?
Well, the Bears are holding teams to 29.4%. So I guess that's why that's not biting them in the ass too much in terms of being at 500. But that's something they need to improve, their third down conversion percentage. And a big part of that is, staying ahead of the sticks, not having pre-snap penalties or, offensive penalties on first down that make a 1st and 10, first and 20 or first and 15, like getting behind the sticks is really killing this team. If they can clean that up and maybe target guys like Swift and Cole Kmet more, those are easy passes for Caleb to make, and they're successful ones. They're the easiest passes for him to make, and they're the most successful on this team. So I think it's a no-brainer in terms of where the Bears can find success this Sunday and going forward in general, with those two guys being heavily involved in that passing game, man.
Yeah, I think what you just said is most important, man. The Bears now have 30 penalties for 224 yards through 4 weeks, guys. 224 yards. That's like for a bad offense like the Bears are, that's like one whole week's worth of offensive statistics.
Can I add something to that stat you just put out there? You said 224 yards lost to penalties, right?
Yeah.
They got 124 yards lost to sacks. So that's
Yeah,
348 yards they've lost
and then
this
they probably
season.
have, and then I'll bet you, Dustin, they have 60, 70 yards lost to runs. Poor schemed runs.
So they're setting themselves behind on the downs. Like they're just not getting ahead.
On everything. I said this last week, guys, and I'll bet it's still. The Bears have to be number one in the league. I don't know the numbers. They have to be number one in the league in minus yards.
I didn't look into that fully. I know what the Bears are at. Caleb is on pace to be sacked 68 times this season.
Bruja, thanks for hanging out with us, man. But he did just say this. He's got a point.
Sorry, boss. Yeah, Kmet had 2 last week. One that could have cost us the game. That would have been.
And guys, I think, and Bruja, I do think maybe, let me know what you think of this, Bruja. If you rewatched the game or if you watch the replay on the false start, I think he trips in motion. He stumbles over his own foot, and as he establishes himself on the line, he re-steps, like almost like a gymnast would landing after like a flip, you know what I mean? After a flip, you have that double step. He kind of like, because he trips over himself, kind of double steps.
Our gymnastics podcast.
Well, I'm telling you, man, as embarrassing as it is for Cole Kmet, I think that is what happened. I think he 100% tripped over himself in motion, and he couldn't get set. The other penalty.
It was a huge penalty. That's all I know. It could have cost the Bears the game. But Cole Kmet, that doesn't take away from what he's doing well. And they need to target him as much as possible.
And realistically, it's not like the Bears are like, what the guys who are getting penalties we're going to take off the field. Because it's all of them.
Bruja says he agrees. Toe pick.
Yeah, he definitely, something happened, man. He kind of like stumbles and tries to establish himself on the line, but he like double steps over because he's like falling over himself. And
just real quick, because we're talking about the Bears
thing that doesn't happen frequently.
We're talking about the Bears penalties. Am I the only one who was like, I was watching this game tonight, the Bucks and the Falcons, and just like, hey, other teams lose games because of penalties too. Like that's cool. We're not alone in this. Like it's a thing across the NFL. Like it's something that the Bears got to clean up. Obviously, it's not going to be something that they can continue to do and be a successful team. But everybody's dealing with it. Like these penalties are that cost them games, that cost you field position. We're not the only ones in the league that have it. It's just about are the Bears coaches doing what they can and what they need to prepare these guys as much as possible to not have a repeat of that this coming Sunday. Let's just get a little better. 2-2. All that being said, 348 yards lost between penalties and sacks. The Bears are 2-2, and they're going into a winnable game here at home to potentially go to 3-2. So let's clean it up. That's the way. Like this is what we need to focus on. Let's fix it. Do you think the Bears can fix that?
Yeah, of course. I think that's one of the things that's in your control. And I guess what you're asking me is,
I think that
is Flus up to the task? Like he better damn well be, because pre-snap penalties is such a silly thing to lose, to put a rookie quarterback at a deficit. It's just so stupid.
Yeah, yeah. You're making it harder. Mark Sanchez was harping on that the whole game. You're just making it harder on him. And Brewhall mentions he's shocked we didn't get a roughing the passer on Stafford's last throw. We covered that on Monday, Brew. Yeah, I mean Taylor definitely hit him in the head, in the helmet with his hand. Like they could have called it. I'm glad they didn't. We got the pick, won the game. But yeah, I was kind of shocked by that too. And we got Bruce Pham in the
Dustin,
building.
you're right. By the way, the Bears are actually 11th in penalties.
Uh-huh.
They're
So like
30
the sky is falling on
with
us as Bears
30
fans.
with
Huh?
30. They're 11th. Houston is at first with 40. So
Bro,
yeah,
it's crazy across the
yeah.
league.
So the Bears are not where you would expect them to be. I mean, I will say this though: there's like 4 teams that have 31. So the Bears are technically like eighth or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We got
But
breaking news, Bruce in the building, just saying hi to Bruce.
what's going on, Bruce?
But yeah, man, I mean it's a plague across the league. I mean, and all teams are trying to fix it. It's early in the season. Hopefully the Bears can do that. I mean, and like you said, like if Flus is going to be that head coach for this team, it's something that he's got to get under control and do a little better this week. That's just the way I look at it. The Brewhouse
Yeah,
is 11th. Well, we're not first.
there's things to fix for all of the coaches on this team, man. Whether it be Eric Washington or Matt Eberflus or Shane Waldron. I mean, the run defense hasn't looked good. Something Eric Washington needs to be addressing first and foremost, right? And then
121 yards a game, 18th in the league.
I would imagine if Eberflus is calling plays, he's focused a little less on things like those. Eric Washington needs to be identifying where the problems are and how to fix them. But Shane Waldron too, man. I mean, last week, sure, we won the game. Caleb played safe, but that's not what you take your first overall quarterback for. You've got weapons on this team that can beat you downfield. You drafted Rome, DJ Moore.
I think you took Caleb to make that throw to DJ Moore in
Well,
the
and
time
at
that he
some
made
juncture, Dustin, this team's only going to win football games if they pose some sort of threat down the field.
Offensively, the Bears are bad, man. They're bad.
Yeah.
It's really tough to look at all these stats in terms of points per game, 20th in the league at 19.3, yards per game, 27th in the league at 284, passing yards per game, 24th at 196.8, rushing yards per game, 29th. I mean, 87.3 yards a game rushing, and that's after a huge game they just had on Sunday. They were at like 75 yards going into that game against the Rams. And then in terms of just offensive DVOA, man, they're 30th in the league. So that's an important statistic to follow. I mean, and it's a problematic one. The Bears have got to start figuring. You're very right. You have to be able to pose a threat on offense. Hopefully, what we saw on this past Sunday against the Rams was them kind of establishing an identity and how they want to generate that offense. And they can continue to build on it, man, because I'm good with Caleb throwing 25 times a game and making a couple key passes that win you that game. I'm good with that type of football. I don't need to see him throwing the ball 50 times to feel good about my
no, but at the same time, like I still believe that all three of these players are the guys. Rome Odunze has really impressed me, man. He's third, guys. He is third in the NFL, third ranked receiver in the NFL against man coverage in regards to separation. Third ranked. And if you watch JT O'Sullivan's episode this week of QB School with Caleb Williams, Rome was open on some really big plays downfield where Caleb he was already under pressure, was too late. But
he was under pressure a lot in that game.
Rome is beating people, man. He's beating people. I believe he's the player the Bears draft him at 9th overall. DJ Moore is who he is, guys. And Keenan Allen actually came into this game last week, guys, looking slender, right? Did you see that? Did you notice that, Dustin? Like, I think in the last 2 weeks that he took off, he lost some weight for sure. Because 230 is too big. I mean, that's too big for that guy.
I
man.
never bought into all that. I know he never looked that big to me, man. I mean,
he did to me. He 100% did to me.
For sure. That's what everybody says. Like, I didn't see it, man. The dude, I mean, Keenan Allen got some separation in that game too that didn't get recognized. I mean, there's still the whole like DJ Moore slowing down, or just Caleb putting the ball here, but the receiver going there. Like these things I feel like are going to start clicking, and that will result in bigger plays downfield. We've been saying that for a couple of weeks here, but I think it's going to start to pay off the work that they're putting in. Brewhall expects more 8 in the box on Sunday. Forced throws into the Bears secondary. Trusting Jalen and Bayard. Yeah, I mean that's a very good point, Brewhall. I mean, Chuba Hubbard, 2 games in a row over 100 yards rushing. Bears are not doing the greatest at stopping it. It'd be nice if they actually came out and contained this running game and forced it onto Andy Dalton's shoulders to see what he does, man. Because yeah, this Bears secondary is the strength of this defense. 5 interceptions on the season, 4th in the league. Like we want to create some turnovers.
Yeah, and I think if you can establish the run, man, it's time to start playing some 10-man personnel on this team. It's time to have, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and DeAndre Carter, or Tyler Scott, whoever you want, a 4-man spread. It's time to start, because Brujah's right. I mean, what's going to happen, guys, is if this team does start to establish themselves, their identity as the smack in the mouth team, teams are going to load the box and force Caleb
Yeah,
to
it works both ways. It
start
works
winning
both
some
ways.
football games. And we need to start playing some 10-man personnel where he's got no tight ends on the field. The only problem with that is this line can't protect.
Yeah, man. And you brought up Carter. I just thought this was interesting, in terms of, and you brought up Roma Dunze running open and not being seen, but also when he's targeted, Roma Dunze has a pretty low success rate. I mean, I brought up the fact that Cole Kmet is the highest at 90%, and Swift is right there at 76.5 a second. Rome is at 39%, when Caleb's targeting him. Success rate when he's throwing the ball. Carter's at 33.3%. I've liked Carter when I've like in the time that he's played, but like that's not good. I don't know if I hope we can keep Keenan Allen on the field and run with our 3 receivers and really start to take advantage of some
Well,
mismatch.
and my message is more, man, like if you're starting to get teams to worry about the run, if Brujah's right here and teams are going to load the box.
Well, here
This
Brujas
is
talking about us loading the box against the Panthers, but yeah, it works both ways in terms of if they load the box on us because we're establishing
yeah,
a run game.
I would load the box against the Panthers, but if teams are starting to load the box against the Bears because they think after last week DeAndre Swift's the biggest problem, you got to start getting these guys, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Dunze on the field at the same time. That's got to start to be a thing. Like these
Yeah,
three
you got to
really,
get those mismatches, those on
yeah.
the outside. Take advantage of those. That's going to be a big part of this offense
This is
if
what
it's
we
going to be
talked about all
successful.
off season, guys, is how special this could be. These 3 guys require 2 defenders. So somebody somewhere is going to beat somebody. It's almost a guarantee.
We
It's
talked all
like
off season about how special that's going to be, and now we're talking about trading Keenan Allen to the Chiefs.
Ryan Poles did this for a reason, though, so that Caleb always has like there's an available option somewhere on any of his reads. You know what I mean? Like
He needs the
somebody's
time to
open.
find them. He needs the
Yeah,
time to find them, Brandon. You just mentioned that with the offensive line, right?
yeah. It's not good, and I thought they played pretty well inside this last week against the Rams. I thought Braxton Jones was the biggest problem for sure.
Shelton still gave up some pressures, and Pryor got beat really bad by Braden Fisk in that game. So I mean, it's across the board. Like I think Darnell Wright continues to be one of the only guys that's really holding his own one-on-one against whoever's across from him. And Tevin Jenkins is having a down year. So it's like, is he going to be healthy enough in this game to take some steps forward? I just really love what I saw in terms of the Bears going to power formation in situations where they needed to and just saying, we're going to overpower you. We're going to move the ball here, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. One stat, man, that I thought was really interesting, I brought this up to you earlier. The Bears are 7 of 9 on 4th down. That's a 77.8 percentage on 4th down, and that's good for 4th in the league. It's one of the few things this offense is really doing well, and I think that's because they're drawing up good plays on 4th and short. So I think a key to this offense, sustaining drives and maintaining, and starting to build on some success, is going to be staying ahead of the sticks, getting to 3rd and manageable, a 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, because Waldron is showing on these 4th downs that he can dial up a good play to get a couple of yards, whether it be with power formation or a quick pass, screen pass, something like that. So the Bears have to focus on eliminating these penalties and running the football to where Caleb is not in 3rd and 10, 3rd and 7 and longer, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. We can start sustaining some drives, man.
Yeah, and I agree with you, man. I think Waldron. I think the fourth down situational football is the one thing that Waldron's really starting to kind of adapt to, right? Like when
Mm-hmm.
you saw the I formation Kramer come in, the 3rd and shorts, the red zone stuff. Like the Bears looked really good in the red zone, right?
Yeah, they
Caleb
were like
threw
the
a
opposite of
touchdown.
the Bears against the Colts.
Yeah,
It was like the
Caleb threw a
exact opposite.
touchdown.
Yeah.
They ran for 2 touchdowns. Situational football, 2-minute drills, they look good, man. They do. Situational football, Waldron's kind of adapting to and figuring out his personnel. It's like the 1st and 10 stuff that's really. He comes out every game and runs the ball with Swift. Swift gets like a 6-yard carry, and then he just keeps pounding the ball. But you think after that 6-yard carry, you'd immediately want to start Caleb getting some completions. But I do think this, man. You said it best last week. The Bears are not going to find success in Caleb Williams unless they somehow establish. I mean, he didn't have his best game last week in regards to statistics, but he certainly had his
He
best
played
game in
his best
regards to
game as
being
an
a
NFL
football
quarterback.
player. And I
Yeah.
think that was just strictly based on comfort, man. The run game supported him. He didn't feel, guys, those I'm telling you, those picks that Caleb's thrown this year are ingrained in who he was as a college football player. He has to win the game. That is, I've said this for months. That was going to be the hardest thing, Dustin, for him to overcome as a professional player is to lose that. You know what I mean? To kind of set that aside and understand that he plays for a team that can win, and it's killed him through 2 games of his professional career. He's thrown those interceptions feeling like he had to force things. Those were bad throws, and he knows that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and you expect those from a rookie quarterback. I just think it's incumbent upon this Bears team, Shane Waldron, Matty Eberflus, and the offensive line and running backs to make it as easy as possible on him so that those mistakes become fewer and farther in between. I personally feel like 23 passes for Caleb is perfect right now, man. If the Bears can stay in games and if this is the DeAndre Swift we saw on Sunday is the DeAndre Swift I expected to see for this Bears team. That's why I drafted him in fantasy on most of my teams because I just expect a really good year from him. And I think the Bears found some ways to utilize him. And that is in tandem with Roshan Johnson, and between those two, the Bears can establish a pretty solid run game. And like Bruja said, just average 4 yards a carry. Make the defense have to respect it. So then you could start taking advantage over the top. One thing we have not seen unleashed from this offense yet, and from Caleb Williams, where I think he can be really good, man, is the play action, successful play action. It doesn't seem like the Bears draw it up in times where it could be, most advantageous, where they can catch the defense off guard. But I feel like that's coming if they continue to lean on this run game and get defenses thinking about it, man.
Yeah, I agree. They've been successful in play action when they've run it in good situations. It's something I would imagine Shane Waldron is aware of. I would hope so. So I'm sure that
He
someone
fucking better be.
So Dustin, where do you think the Bears' concern is this week with Carolina Panthers?
The concern? I mean, there's some interesting stats with Carolina, man. They're allowing the 148.8 yards per game rushing to offenses, sorry. But I mean, 180 per game at home versus 117 away. So like they're performing better defensively against the run on the road. I thought that was interesting. So like, but better is still the Bears can take advantage of that. There's not really a place where Carolina is good, where Carolina concerns me. Carolina's allowing 7.3 yards per attempt. That's 27th in the league. But there's a fun fact with this. The Rams are at the league worst 8.6 yards per attempt. The Bears only average 5.8 yards per attempt against them. So it's like, can the Bears step up their game? It's the same story. We've done this 3 weeks in a row, man, where the Carolina Panthers are weak on defense. The Bears have been weak on offense. So it's like, who's going to step their game up? I think defensively for Carolina, man, Jadeveon Clowney, I totally foresee them just plotting him right in front of Braxton Jones and seeing if they can do to him this week what Jared Verse did last week to Braxton Jones, because that can really, take apart this offense. And J.C. Horn's a really good cornerback. I mean, he makes some mistakes, he takes a lot of risks, but he's a guy who can pay off on those risks sometimes, and you got to watch out for him. And I really like Xavier Woods, their safety too. I mean, he's a veteran, been in the league a long time, but 11 career interceptions. The guy's a good player. Like, there's some decent pieces. It's nothing crazy, On offensively, Chuba, what, what, however you say it, Chuba. Sounds like a bubble gum. I think he's the key to this game for the Panthers if they want to win. I don't think that Andy Dalton beats you in this game. I really don't, because our secondary is our strength. We're only allowing 175 passing yards per game. But I think if Chuba Hubbard can go off and the Bears can't, step up their game defensively against the run this week, that's how Carolina stays in this game.
Do you know what?
Okay. I'm sorry, Brandon, I missed that.
Do you know what Carolina's allowing in terms of passing yards per game?
Carolina's allowing 182.5 passing yards per game. That's what they're doing. That's what they're that's what they're averaging. Carolina's averaging 182 passing yards per game. Oh, where do I got that? I have that somewhere. It's not
they're
great.
174.
Oh, really?
That's really low, man. This secondary, like you just said, the secondary's got some quality players on it.
It does.
That's the only aspect of this defense that's keeping them in football games. So you need to exploit DeAndre Swift. You have to get the run established, because that's where this team is weakest. And like I said, I think Cole Kmet's going to be a huge part of this game, man.
Let me make this point real quick, though, because in the terms of the passing yards, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but 27th in passing yards per attempt, allowing the 7.3 that I just mentioned. I think, the fact that they're allowing 180 rushing yards per game at home, 150 rushing yards a game, kind of contributes to teams not really trying to take advantage of their secondary, because they don't have to, because they're running the football down that team's throat. But I get what you're saying. They do. I agree with you. They have some good players in that secondary in terms of, that could be where their strength is against this Bears offense, if they can take advantage of Caleb and get some pressure on him.
Well, I think, man, where I always kind of hang my hat is
no, I got it right here. Carolina's allowing 209 passing yards per game. It's 19th in the NFL.
That's not what I'm seeing, man. I don't know. This is ESPN, so I don't know. Maybe it's not updated yet, but
we got a new person in the chat real quick. Shout him out. Checking out Gypsy Mike. With Williams, we have a huge disadvantage. Oh, God. Our defense will have to win another game for us by getting a couple of turnovers.
Okay, so he just mentioned, he cut me off there. Checking out Gypsy Mike. The Bears seem to win football games, man, when they win the turnover battle. I said this on Monday night's podcast, that when the Bears win the turnover battle, they typically win football games, at least this year. Last year, obviously, they took the ball away from Jared Goff 3 times or 4 times, I think, and still lost a football game. But the Bears are winning the turnover battle with their opponents, I think 5-2. No, 7-4. All right, okay. 7-4. The Bears are winning the turnover battle 7-4. I do think that when I talked to you about David Canales beating Matty Eberflus, the one thing I remember about the game is Baker Mayfield was constantly pressured and just never got sacked. Do you remember that?
Last year when he played the Bears,
he just kept getting away from
and making amazing plays. Yeah, making amazing plays out of it. Yeah, I remember.
Andy Dalton's not that guy.
He's not going to move around the pocket very well. He's going to get sacked if we get there.
And the Bears played Baker last year without Montez Sweat. So I think where the Bears win this game is they get pressure on Andy Dalton. That's
You
what
know,
I think.
Carolina's only giving up 2 sacks per game. That's 10th best in the NFL.
Yeah.
Doing a
I,
pretty good job there.
is it? Are you sure it's 2? Because I thought they allowed 5 all season.
I'm pretty sure on all my stats here, man. They're definitely allowing 209 passing yards per game. They just gave up 230 to Cincinnati this past week. But yeah, that's 2 sacks per game is what it equates to. 10, and the Bears are allowing the 4. That's 29th in the league. So the Panthers are better there than the Bears are in terms of offensive line protecting the quarterback. So the Bears are going to have to win matchups, one-on-one matchups. Montez Sweat is going to have to beat Taylor Moton. You know, that's got to happen. You know, we got to get some help from Javon Dexter. I fully expect Javon Dexter to continue his stacking up sacks in this game. He should be able to. I mean, they got injuries. They're questionable. They'll probably play Hunt. They're on the inside,
Yeah,
but that
center and
interior
guard.
offensive line is
Yeah.
It's like Javon Dexter should be able to get another sack in this game. I can see that happening.
You're gonna have to pressure Andy Dalton. If you pressure Andy Dalton, you're gonna win this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not even so concerned about it. Like, honest to God, man, what the offense does. Obviously, we need to put some points on the board. But if you get pressure on Andy Dalton, that's what ends this game. Because Andy Dalton's played some good years in his career. He has, but he is also a guy who's turned the ball over. So you got to force those.
In that vein,
Andy, did you watch the way that Panthers Saints game ended last week?
The way the Panthers played the Bengals. The Panthers Saints game a couple weeks ago, or is that, the Panthers played the Saints in the first week of the season, right?
No, I thought it was this week. Was it Panthers Bengals?
Panthers Bengals, yeah, this past Sunday.
Did you watch the end of that game?
I did not. I saw the final score.
The Panthers got the ball back. They came back. They got the ball back, and Andy Dalton had a Hail Mary from like the 40. I don't even think it was he could have thrown it the end zone, and he had like 7 seconds left on the clock, and he rushes it and tries to get out of bounds, but time expires like 2 seconds before he steps out of bounds. So it was like, dude, just throw the damn ball. Like, what? They just throw the ball. Like, the Panthers could have won that game if he threw up a prayer, man.
Gypsy Mike, thanks again for joining us, man. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. I've never seen your name before, so you must be new to us, unless you're going under an alias that I haven't seen before. So he says Dalton is a quick processor and throws darts, but he will throw into tight windows. Jalen and Stevenson have to be ready to take advantage. Those two guys are ready to take advantage, man. And I agree with that. If we turn it into a game where Dalton is being held responsible for winning this game for the Panthers, the Bears are going to generate turnovers. I fully expect that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that comment, Gypsy Mike. Brewhall saying need to take the points when given, get the field goals on 4th downs in the red zone early. Another thing that the Bears are doing pretty decently is scoring touchdowns when they get into the red zone. 5 out of 9 times they've scored touchdowns. So, I mean, the Bears have been pretty decently efficient. It's like middle of the pack. It's like 16th in the league. They've been pretty decently efficient at scoring points when they get down there. So that could be something that they take advantage of in this game as well and continue some success.
So where do you think the Bears' biggest strength, or I should say advantage, is in offense?
The Bears' biggest offensive advantage against this Carolina defense?
Yeah.
It's running the football, man. You might as well put me on repeat from last week going into that Rams game, man. If the Bears run the football well in this game, there's no way they lose. Even if Chuba Hubbard has a decent game, but the Bears establish the run, they will win this game because it's going to enable them to control the clock, continue to hold on to the ball, and it's gonna wear down that Panthers defense, man. And that'll open up some plays for Caleb where you could see him make that big throw downfield to DJ or Rome, or maybe even Keenan.
Caleb in the red zone's been pretty damn good, man. He's got 3 touchdowns. The Bears haven't been in the red zone that much. You know what I mean?
9 times. Yeah. 9 times they've been there. 5 touchdowns. Like I said, that's pretty solid. So, I mean, I know for a fact that if the Bears continue to do this week what they did last week and start to even get better at it, they're gonna be impossible for this Panthers team to beat. Now, if they one thing that's the Bears ran 58% of the time last week, but on the season They run 39% of the time. Like their percentage of pass plays on offense is one of the highest in the league. It's like top 10 in the league. It's like number 6. They pass the ball like they're the Kansas City Chiefs. And right now we're not that. So if you like balance that, we've been talking about the balancing your passing game with the run game and make teams worry about the run. Caleb is going to become more successful. I want to see that be like 55 run, 45 pass. I mean, it's kind of flipped on its head from where I think it should be for this team to be successful. So, man, run the fucking ball. That's the Bears' key to success again. It's pretty fucking simple to me.
Yeah, it's clear. That's where and I think Dustin, me and you talked about on the House Hall Hangover. It's about simplifying this offense because they kind of came out of the gates. At least Shane Waldron did. Like Caleb, because Caleb knew everything. It meant he was able to execute it all. You know what I mean? It was like, well, and even more importantly, it was like he needed it all. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
he
we need to
knows
show
it.
people. We need to show
Yeah,
people
yeah, because he
that
knows
we
it.
know we got
Yeah,
this.
because he
So,
knows it. I want to see he can do it. It's like, dude, like, but he's still a rookie. So Shane Waldron's kind of toned it back, right? I mean, it seems pretty apparent. Like he threw 2 passes over 20 yards last week, guys. Waldron is clearly trying to focus on making this guy feel like he can get a rhythm before he
yeah, man.
starts taking shots.
And last week you were saying this Bears offensive identity needs to be passing with the 3 weapons they have. And like I could see us getting to that point. But right now, man, I think it's all about, like you just said, making Caleb feel comfortable, making him feel supported with that run game, and starting to take that defense, bring them down into the box, get them where you want them before you can, and then set them up for that big throw over the top. I'm a firm believer that your quarterback needs to make 2 to 3 big passes a game max for you to win a game. The more times you're dropping back, man, the higher the risk of something bad happening, and we've seen that already. So the Bears have seen it too. The Bears coaching staff has seen it, and they heard what everyone was saying, and they're like, all right, this is the way we need to do this. I think they just continue to build on that this week. I don't think they go back to passing 61% of the time. I think they're going to be a 55% run this week as well against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, that's where teams seem to find success against the Carolina Panthers, man, is running the ball. So it's another defense where they can be exposed there.
Yeah, and we've seen it the last 2 weeks. We've seen it go both ways. Like we saw the Colts were the worst team against the run in the league, and the Bears still managed only 77 rushing yards against them. This past week, the Rams, top 5 worst in the league, but the Bears were able to establish that run game and really focus it around DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift is the most dangerous weapon on this offense, I think, if he's utilized properly. They have to lean on him in order to have a successful offensive season in my mind.
And he kind of proved
I want to see that built on this week.
He kind of proved he's the key piece, man. I mean, if you get him
I think
involved
so.
heavily, if the Bears, I mean, I don't think that'll be an uncorrelated trend. If you see DeAndre Swift succeed big in a game like he did last week, you're probably going to see a Bears victory. You know what I mean? Like Caleb's shown that he can make the throws. The throw to DJ Moore. I mean, you know what I mean? If this running game's working and even getting you in the red zone, I fully trust Caleb to be able to make it past the end zone.
Yeah, same here. And I mean, again, you mentioned it earlier. His willingness to take the checkdowns in this past game and involving Swift in that aspect is really what changed the game. It turned what would have been, potential sacks or, bad throws downfield into first downs. Just getting that ball to DeAndre Swift in some open space, man. So the Bears got to continue to take advantage of that. I don't know why anyone would want to see anything but that in this game come Sunday after what we just saw against the Rams. So, I mean, hopefully the Bears coaching staff is preparing to take advantage of that again this week.
So what is your score prediction for this game, man?
Real quick, Gypsy Mike wants to see more of Kramer on 3rd and short. Brewhall says he wants to see some of these receivers lay out for some of these overthrows. He puts in quotations he keeps from the defense. I'm sorry. What's my prediction for this game?
Yep.
I think it's kind of an ugly game, man. Like as we said to start, I think it can get a little dirty. I think there's going to be a couple turnovers going both ways. But the Bears are at home. They're playing an inferior team, and they should find a way to win this game, by a decently comfortable margin. They're 4-point favorites. So, I mean, both teams are averaging under 20 points a game. We did this last week where, like, I kind of want to stick with those trends, man. I'm seeing like a 21-17 win for the Bears, covering that spread, maybe get a couple offensive touchdowns, one defensive touchdown. And another key in this game is going to be Torrey Taylor again. Torrey Taylor flipping the field position like he did last week, make him the MVP of this game potentially. It's going to be an ugly one.
Yeah, I was going to say 21-14. I feel like when the Bears get in the red zone, they're going to score touchdowns. I don't think they're going to settle on field goals. And I think this Panthers team's just going to be under duress, man. I think if Montez Sweat is able to not only get pressure on Dalton, but typically, man, when you see Sweat getting back there, it creates things for other players on the Bears. So if Montez Sweat gets back there, and then you start to see the whole trickle down with Javon Dexter and Daryl Taylor, when you start to see that, I think the guy's going to make some mistakes. I think the Bears are going to capitalize on some turnovers. Anytime the Bears defense has put the Bears offense in a short field, they've kind of executed on it, man.
That's going to happen again. Complimentary football. Yes.
One was that strip sack. Roshan Johnson scored a touchdown, right, against the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had the week before it against Anthony Richardson. I believe they had was it a strip?
Richardson? Well, they had a couple picks against him.
The Herbert touchdown came right after the Bears defense took the ball away with short yardage. The Khalil Herbert rush touchdown against the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears are doing a good job of playing that complementary style of football where the defense is giving the offense the ball in opportune situations. And like we said, 5 of 9 touchdowns in the red zone. So the Bears are capitalizing on it when they get that short field. Torrey Taylor's a big part of that. And the offense needs to do its part too, because they got to keep this defense off the field, get the defense a little bit of a rest from time to time. We don't want the defense out there all the time. So they got to do their part, Gypsy Mike says protect DJ Moore. He's getting slaughtered on those screen plays. I mean, yeah, DJ Moore, I would mention that earlier. He's kind of getting laid out on a lot of these. We got Bruhall checking in with his prediction. He's got the Panthers at 12. Looks like the Kittens at 12, the Bears at 21. Sweat has the sprained ankle. Hopefully he comes out healthy. I mean, he's participating in practice, on a limited basis, but he's a baller, man. I think he's going to show up and play. And like I said, I expect Javon Dexter to kind of have a good game against this interior offensive line of the Panthers, and that'll be huge to get at Andy Dalton, up the middle. So, and when I say that it could be an ugly game, I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I just want to be clear on that. Like, this Bears team could end up finding out that its identity is they're a team that wins ugly games. They're a team that finds ways to win ugly games. That's okay.
They've kept themselves in every single game this year, man.
Yeah, man. And that's going to be the case this Sunday. I think it's going to be a close one again. I think that, again, the Panthers' weaknesses on defense or the Bears have the same weaknesses on offense. So it's like, who's going to step up this week? And I think the Bears, just the fact that they're at home and that they're a better team.
I was just going to say, man, being at home.
Yeah, man, makes a big difference. Big difference.
And I will say this, man, and credit to Flus. They're on a 7-game home game win streak.
7-game home winning streak. Yep. It'll be 8, I think, after this week. Again, we've seen it go both ways the last 2 weeks. The Colts was a game the Bears should have won, And you could just as easily say this was a game against the Rams they should have lost, but they found a way to win. I think we're going to have a 2-game winning streak here and add to that home winning streak at Soldier Field after this. But I won't be surprised if it goes the other way either, just based on the fact that I do think it's going to be an ugly game. Gypsy Mike says, until I see Williams get more accurate, I don't expect many wins. 4 of 22 past 20 yards. Yeah, that's been a problem. It got worse last week. It didn't get better in terms of his deep ball percentage. Panthers 17-13, he says, if defense doesn't get a couple of pickoffs. I mean, but I kind of expect that, Gypsy Mike. I expect this defense to generate a couple of turnovers. So, I mean, that could end up being the key to the game, like you're saying.
They're gonna take the ball away.
Yeah, I think so.
Take the ball away.
I mean, Gypsy Mike made the point that Andy Dalton will take risks with the football, So
yeah, and I think the Bears play this bend don't break, and I think that's going to work for 3/4 of the game. But I still think Panthers are going to get on the board, and I think the Bears are just going to score more because I do think the Bears' offense is getting better every week, man. And it's just this is a good game to kind of this is a good test for this offense, man. I mean, this is a team that is getting beat for a year and a half now. I mean, so like.
I mean, just in every way possible. Their owner is a piece of shit. There's the quarterback. They gave up everything to draft number 1 is now on the bench. Yeah. Derek Brown, their best player, is on injured reserve for the rest of the season. Brian Burns looking good in New York. I mean, there's just so many things here that working against the Panthers. Like, it's going to be really deflating if the Panthers come into Soldier Field and beat us this Sunday, bro. Like, we can't let that happen. It's like, come on. You just can't let the Panthers riding the cold streak that they're on come into Chicago and beat
you. I'm done. I'm done. Yeah. I'm done if that happens.
No. Yeah, no.
It's tough. You said it earlier, man. And listen, man. I'm not calling a must-win game based on what week it is because I don't think that was a must-win game for the Bucs. I do think this is a must-win game for the Bears. This game dictates if you go above 500 or below it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're playing a bad football team who, like I said, you guys loses in almost every statistic. I mean, across the board, they're leading their opponent in penalties, and their kick return is a higher average.
And I mean, it's not like it's getting better for you in the division. You can't lose pace with the Vikings. Could lose, in London. They're playing in London, right?
Yeah, with the Jets.
Yeah, against the Jets. That's a game that they could lose. I mean, I hope so. You got the Packers are playing. Who are they playing? Why am I blanking on that? The Lions are on a bye, so they're not going backwards. You're not losing. You're just going to be losing ground if you lose this. They're playing the Rams. The Packers are playing the Rams, who the Bears just beat. So yeah, I mean, and I think it's going to be tough. You got to maintain it. Like you can't lose ground in this division right now. Like we were just talking earlier, man. This NFC North is the best division in football. You can't lose a game like this to the Panthers and expect to hang in that division. And Gypsy Mike says if Bagent was our starter, there's Bagent. He's got a great marketing person, man. Like his publicist is just working all the time, man. I like Bagent. I thought he looked solid. I honestly last year I was not super impressed with Bagent.
It's not a conversation worth having, man.
But no, we would not be 4-0 if Bagent was starting over Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is a better quarterback than Tyson Bagent, and I think the Bears team knows that. I think this revolt if you took Caleb Williams off the field and replaced him with Tyson Bagent. I personally think so. Let's ever think about that. I mean, maybe people think DJ Moore needs him, dog. I don't know if I don't think DJ Moore said that, but like these conspiracy theories towards Bagent are just crazy. It's just crazy, man. Caleb Williams is the number 1 overall pick, guys, for a reason. We're in week 5. He's 2-2, and we're in week 5. I mean, let's stick with our guy. Let's see if it's gonna get better because I believe it's going to, and it can't get worse than what we've seen here in Chicago, guys. We've given lesser quarterbacks way more chances than what we're trying to give Caleb Williams right now. Let's please remember that. Mitch Trubisky went to a damn Pro Bowl, and he sucks. Caleb Williams, he sucked the whole time. Caleb Williams is going to be a hell of a quarterback in the NFL. Let's have some faith. I mean, I just can't wait until Caleb Williams is a perennial 4,000-yard passer, man. And Tyson Bagent is the backup for the Carolina Panthers. And we can stop having this conversation. All right. Anything else you wanted to touch on, man? I think we kind of went through this game. We both predicted the Bears to win. Similar scores. I got 21-17. You got 21-14. There's no fucking way in hell we're going to lose this game this Sunday, guys. We can't. Otherwise, we got to start reassessing our priorities. I might start going to church on Sundays instead of watching football. But that's what we got. I know we wanted to talk about the Bulls, man. The training camp just started.
Media day, yeah.
We had media day and training camp day 2 today. So
Zach LaVine refers to himself in the third person. We figured that out. So that's a thing.
I like Zach
Did you
LaVine.
not watch that? Did you not watch the media day?
No, I did. I thought he really spoke well in terms of how he wants to approach this season with the Bulls, man. He really did. He's going to play whatever role they need in order to help the team be successful.
I don't know. Yeah, for sure, man.
I get what you're saying. These athletes do that shit all the time, man. Like the third person thing, you know. But like my bigger focus is that I really do think Zach LaVine is going to have a great year. I really do.
I think he's going to get traded.
And if he's having a great year when he gets traded, that's a better haul for the Bulls to come this way. I think Zach LaVine is in for a great year. These things change constantly too, man. I never want to give up on Zach LaVine, man. I really love him as a basketball player, and I really hope it works out for both the Bulls and Zach LaVine. But Zach LaVine on this team with these young guys could be an interesting fit, at least for the first half of the season until he's traded. You know?
Well, he'll probably be ball dominant, but I still want to see
go to church and still make kickoff, brother. All right, I was just bullshitting. I'm never going to church. You got me, Gypsy Mike. No,
he's calling your bluff.
Yeah, he's like, you can still go to church and watch football. We can do both. No, I can't.
This is the church I go to. You should check it out.
No, but I think, you know, and there's that highlight today in practice. Lonzo Ball throwing up an alley-oop to Matas, man. Like, I'm excited for that. I get tricked every year, man. I'm the biggest Bulls fan, like, honestly, and they're my team, and like, and I'm excited for this season, even though I know the Bulls are gonna fucking suck. But like, I'm excited to see these young guys play, bro. Josh Giddey.
But and Matas, man, Bucelis is gonna be
the
a player,
real deal. He looks like the real deal, man. And I hope he don't go to the fucking G League. They better not do that shit like that. Let's get him on the court and see what he's got. Like, what do you have to lose? You know, that makes no sense.
Besides the games you're already gonna.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, shit. Patrick Williams can go to the fucking G League before Matas at this point, man. No, thank you.
Vooch, send Vooch to the G League.
I think it's going to be an interesting season. I wanted to bring it up because we are going to do a Bulls show here coming up soon. We got the Bulls season starting. Me and Brandon are giant Bulls fans, so we're going to be talking Bulls at least once a week on this 4 Stars channel, man. So if you guys are into the Bulls, you know, come check us out. If not, you know, we'll still be talking about them either way.
Oh yeah,
yeah, man. Anything else?
No, that's about it, man. Go Bears. Bear down, dude. I think this is a good game for some parlays, I feel like.
A parlay that you can miss by one leg?
By 1 yard. Yeah. Cole Kmet gets 106 yards. Yeah.
There's like this thing in me that always wants to bet, but then I just got to remember I never fucking win. I never win. Like, even what I think are like sure things turn into bullshit, you know. And then I got to explain to my wife where that $50 went.
Oh yeah, no, I don't do that.
It's not worth it.
Keep it to like 10.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, no, I got nothing else, man.
Yeah, man. Guys, I want to thank Bruja for checking in and giving us some awesome content to talk about throughout
As
Gypsy
always,
Mike,
thank you.
man. Hey, man, come back next week, bro. Make sure, like I said, hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you like what we were doing, man, we would love to have you back. And we do a show on Mondays, the Hollis Hall Hangover.
There's never been a parlay with your favorite team. Touche.
I did that. I did that a
Touche.
couple of
Check it out.
times this year already. True that. Yeah. We do the Hollis Hall Hangover on Monday. We'll do
Thanks, Brew.
Sean and Kyle do a Bears preview on Wednesday. Sometimes Sean checks in with some pretty good. All right, thanks. Look at this. Already hit him, brother. Fuck yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We got a new one.
Thanks for checking out. We'll call you Gypsy Mike. Gypsy Mike,
Gypsy
thank
Mike.
you, man.
Yeah. Bruce says great show tonight. Just want to thank y'all for giving us some awesome stuff to talk about throughout the show. Hopefully we see you again next week. Hopefully we see you on Monday for the House Hall Hangover. That's Mondays at the time has changed so many times. 6. We're doing it at 6. Beautiful. So we got the House Hall Hangover at 6 on Monday, man. Brandon, always fun. I think we're getting better at this. It's our 5th episode now. We're starting to get a little rhythm here. Yeah.
Just chat, man. We just chat. That's it.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Have a great night. Bear down. Thanks for staying up late with us.
Bear down, Chi-Town.
All right. And